Good morning friends, let's get started this session. In previous session we discussed something about project life cycle, and we have seen that there are basically three phases. You have got initiation phase, you have got implementation phase, and the third one was final phase or finishing phase. Now before starting project selection techniques, we would like to go little bit in detail about those phases which we have seen. So let's get started about project life cycle phases. So you have got initiation phase. Now in initiation phase can be classified into two sub phases, namely conceptual phase and definition phase. Whenever you start any project, the first point of any project is the generation of idea, how you are getting concept about a project. So this is the first point in any project, it is the conception phase. You need to conceive idea in your minds. Then you have got definition phase. Of course, then you need to define what the project is, and there are several other points you need to define. The second phase is planning and organizing. So if you wish, you can club first and second phase and call them as initiation phase. If you wish, you can do it, otherwise you can have simply four phases. Let it be conceptual phase, definition phase, planning and organizing phase, implementation phase, and project cleanup phase. Or you can do one thing, you can have first and second as initiation phase, second is implementation phase, and this is finishing phase. So initiation phase are selection of project. We'll try to find out how to select a project. So the most important point in a project is project selection. At the end of the day, when you come up with a project, you need to choose from several alternatives which are available. So how to select a project? It's a very big challenge, very big task. Now there are several factors which are responsible for selection of a project, but broadly we can say it's a function of risk and returns. If the risk is more, return would be more in a project. If risk is less, return would be less. So broadly we will say it's a trade-off between risk and return. If you can take more risk, you will earn more returns. So project selection can be divided into two major activities: project identification and project appraisal. So first of all, we should identify projects. And how to identify projects? Again, there are multiple ways. Project identification, generally it should be done through brainstorming sessions. In fact, in brainstorming session, you will have several ideas coming up from team members of the brainstorming session, and this brainstorming session can be structured and can be unstructured. When I say structured, it means, let us say if there are 10 people sitting for brainstorming and each one of them is coming up with an idea. So in a structured brainstorming session, everyone will have to come up with an idea. In unstructured, it is not necessary. Anyone can give his or her own idea. So you can have 20 to 30 ideas generated in brainstorming session, and then you try to evaluate those ideas on several parameters. You need to look at let us say its marketing feasibility, technical feasibility, and so on. So this is one of the ways of project identification, which is brainstorming. Now when you create a new product or a new project or a new service through brainstorming, there are several challenges, and there are a couple of examples of brainstorming. If you look at Kodak company, now Kodak company does go for a brainstorming session. It's informal session with the customers along with engineers and designer of the Kodak company. So when they go for such type of brainstorming session, engineers and designer come to know what problems customers are facing, and This is the way in which company can resolve some of the problems. Now, it is good to give some time off to the technical people of the organization, especially R&D people. It is called allowing of time off, so that they can think something new during time off. It is also good to survey your customers, because survey will help you what problems customers are facing and you can come up with solutions. You can also have some iterative models, like you can have different sessions with customers. I will give you an example. Let us say if you are a doctor, then you can always have some sort of informal session with your patients, so that they can tell their problems, or let us say a group of doctors sitting in a group and group of patients sitting in another group. So, they can informally talk to each other. It is good to set up an idea vault. In an organization you will have several employees, so let there be an idea vault. Whenever a new idea comes to any employee, he will write it on a paper and he will put it in idea vault. Interaction between technical people and supplier, and let us say if you have got 10 suppliers or 10 vendors, then it is good to visit their sites, so that those vendors do not send you wrong materials. So, it is good to have visit of your engineers at the site of vendors. So, these are couple of ways in which you can come up with new ideas. Now, the process of brainstorming is it looks very simple, but it is very difficult, because whenever you go for brainstorming session, there are several forces which would restrain people in giving their ideas. Let us look at couple of those forces. Whenever you are going for a brainstorming session, let us say boss says, I have got a great idea. Now, boss himself should not say it is a great idea. At the end of the day, it is the team which would decide whether the idea is great or not, right. It will not work here. Many times when an employee gives an idea, other employees may say that this idea will not work here. You know, in the beginning you should not say like this. Let us get ideas first. Let the idea be foolish in the beginning, but you should be receptive towards all the ideas. So, just by saying it will not work here, you are suppressing your employees in giving new ideas. We have tried it before. Now, generally people say that we have tried it before. Now, you would have tried it before, but let us try once again. Something would have gone wrong previous time when you tried it before, but it is possible that this time it may work. So, do not say that we have tried it before. This is not the right time. It is possible that this is not the right time for implementing that idea which an employee has given, but it is good to note it down in the beginning. Later on you can implement it at some right point of time. It can't be done. You see, whenever you get an idea from employees, you do not say it can't be done. You should try for it. It is always good to give 1 or 2 tries to that idea, and then if it does not work, then you should stop it. But initially saying it can't be done is not the right thing. It is not the way do things here. Generally you will find this kind of statement. It is not the way do things here. Come on, if you have not been doing things in this way, let us start doing things in this way. It is possible that it may strike and you may get a good product at the end of the day. So, just saying that it is not the way do things here is not good. We have done all right without it. Now, this is again one of the problems in brainstorming session. We have done all right without it. If you have done all right without something new, then why you are having brainstorming session? Because the purpose of brainstorming session is to come up with new idea, new product, new project, new service. So, it is not advisable to say we have done all right without it. You should be very receptive towards ideas. It will cost too much. You see, initially when you start something, it would be very expensive affairs. So, later on you can cut down on cost. Initially saying that it will cost too much is not a good thing. Let us discuss in our next meeting. Now, this is very famous line in a meeting. Let us discuss in our next meeting. Try to discuss the idea in the meeting itself, in the current meeting itself, and try to have an initial screening of that idea rather than discussing in next meeting. So, these are couple of forces which hinder generally the idea generation process. Now, during brainstorming session, the management has to be very receptive, and management should keep vision for future growth. Then only the management would be receptive. Keep long term objectives in mind and look at SWOT first. Whenever there is any idea, try to screen that idea on SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the opportunities available outside, and what are the threats available outside? So, if you look at SWOT, strength and weaknesses are within, while opportunities and threat are external to the organization. Perform preliminary project analysis to assess whether project proposal is worthwhile or not, and you should come up with documents like project document, which would be describing the characteristics of the project. Feasibility document, you need to look at constraints, namely your technical constraints, financial constraints, marketing constraints, and so on. Project concept document, what the product is, why you are coming up with that project, who will implement that project, and project charter. Project charter is a document which formally communicates the initiation of the project, its scope, its authority, and key success factors. So, you should also look at these documents. Now, this is an exercise you can take up for this session. Reduce vehicle pollution in your city. In whichever city you are living, try to come up with several ideas so that pollution can be reduced in your city. And let us say if you have come up with 5 ideas, then evaluate each idea on effectiveness to achieve this project, cost of the proposal. Let us say if your idea is to come up with more tree plantation, then what would be the cost of the proposal? Ease of implementation. Let us say if you are coming up with an idea of, let us say, starting metro in your city. Now, you need to look at effectiveness, cost of the proposal, ease of implementation, and time needed. Similarly, you can have some other ideas. For example, you can always have a specific time for trucks entering into your city. So, let the entry of trucks in your city be from, let us say, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. That can be one of the ideas to reduce vehicular pollution in your city. So, this is an assignment you can work upon. So far we have seen different points. Let us different points related to project selection and especially related to brainstorming. Let us go for project appraisal. So once you have selected a project, you need to appraise it on several parameters, and this is quite an important process. It is done by again top management, and once a project is screened on all these criteria, then you can start the project. So, market appraisal. So, if you are coming up with a new product, then you need to talk about who are the customers, who are the people requiring that particular product, what would be your market share, what is the market share of existing competitors, what is the market share of existing market leader, what is the aggregate demand in that particular market, possible pricing options. You need let us say if your competitor is selling a product at, let us say, 10 rupees. So, what are your possible options? Should you sell at 10 rupees or less than that or more than that, or in 10 rupees but more quantity? So, you can have several possible options. So, all these and there are many more in marketing appraisal. So, you should go for market appraisal of your project. Now, let us look at technical appraisal of the project. Now, in technical appraisal, you look at the technical specifications. Let us say if you are going for a bore well, then what could be the possible technical specifications you should look at? You should look at where you want bore well, what would be the depth, what would be the diameter, and what would be the process. So, these are couple of technical aspects as far as bore well project is concerned. Similarly, you can have some other technical aspects for some other project. Now, what do you think about financial factors? Financial factors would include what according to you? Just 5 seconds, think over it. Yes, so some of the financial factors can be like this. What is the cost of the project? What would be the sources of funds? Whether you would be investing from your own pocket, whether you are taking loan, are you going for IPO, and are you going for some other sources? So, you need to look at issues like these. What would be the impact on financial position of the firm when you come up with a new project? Working capital requirement for the project, because you need to fulfill day to day's requirements. Cash flows over time, what would be the cash outflows in a project, what would be the cash inflows in the project, is that project profitable? You need to look at this stage. Profitability, break even point. Break even point is a point where total cost is equal to total revenue. So, at what particular quantity break even point will come? Net present worth, IRR, payback period. What is the payback period of the project? In how many months or in how many years you will get the investment back, and risk. So, these are couple of financial appraisal points. Now, you have got ecological appraisal. Whenever you go for a project, you need to look at how your project is damaging the environment. If it is a construction project, definitely it would affect air quality of that area, it would definitely affect trees if there are any in that area, and so on. So, you need to look at issues like air, water, noise as far as environmental damages are concerned. Now, you should also look at economic factors. Now, what do you think according to you, what would be the economic factors? Yeah, so economic factors may include points like the impact of the project on society. You see, whenever you come up with a project, it might affect society negatively or positively, but it should affect positively more. And what are the benefits of the project to the society? What are the costs that the society is paying for that project? Distribution of income in the society, whether the income would be distributed equally to different members of the society, which generally never happens, but at the end of the day the project should help society. Level of saving and investments, employment, etc. So, all these points come under economic appraisal. Let us look at production factors. In production factors, how much time you would be requiring to make a product, availability of resources. Let us say if you are starting a cement industry, so do you have adequate limestone, do you have adequate equipment and machineries, do you have adequate transportation facilities, do you have adequate skilled employees, and so on. Flexibility of operations, connection with existing production lines, because if it is a cement industry, it would be definitely outside of the city. So, how you are bringing your final product in the city. So, there should be connection with existing production lines, connection with existing transportation facilities. Then what would be the energy requirement for cement project, expected quality of the product. So, all these points you should look at in production factors. Now, what are the points do you think would be under personal factors? Yeah. Personal factors means human resources. Though the personal management is part of human resource management. So, personal factors can be, let us say, how many employees you want, what should be their qualification, how you are going to recruit them, what would be your selection process, and what kind of, let us say, leaves you would be giving to your employees, what is your promotion policies. All these things would come under personal factors. And then you have got legal factors. Legal factors. Legal factors are the factors generally you need to look at legal issues. For example, if you are coming up with a, let us say, a new dam, then for dam you need to acquire lands from those people who are living in that area. Let us say if some person has filed a suit in court of law. So, how you are coming up with your answers against that particular lawsuit. So, these are a couple of legal factors. So, you need to look at warranties, any compensation to be paid, who would be the lawyers representing your organization, and similar things. So, once you select a project, the next point is you need to appraise the project, and we have seen several appraisal criteria. Namely, you can again Think of, for example, we have discussed though all these points: marketing, technical, personal, production and so on, right. The second point is planning and organization. If you wish, you can keep the first phase and this phase with initiation phase, or you can have it, you can study this phase separately also. So, planning and organizing. So, what is to be planned now? You have selected a project. Now, what is to be planned? You need to plan resources, right. And what are the resources? You have got several resources, let us say main, machine, material, money, method, and there are others as well. Then the third phase is project implementation. What is this? The most difficult, because the identification and selection of project can be done on papers, planning and organization can be done on papers, but project implementation, you have to really implement the project now. So, what is project implementation? Yeah. So, project implementation includes organization of project team and allocation of work to those project teams, monitoring cost of the project, time of the project, whether whether the project is as per planned time or not, whether the cost is as per planned budget or not, effective control action to minimize time and cost overruns, try to have effective control on these two. Updating of project schedules, whenever there is any change, then you need to update that change in your plans. Provisioning of financial and other resources needed to project. Many times what happens, your project is, let us say the actual budget is, let us say 10,000 rupees, but you have spent that budget in just 75% of the time itself, then you need to look at some other sources of fundings. So, this is provisioning of financial and other resources needed in the project. Coordination, of course, coordination amongst different stakeholders, awarding of contracts to vendors and subcontractors, because you are not doing all the activities by yourselves. Procure and erecting of equipment and services. So, this is all about project implementation. Now, once you are done with project implementation, the next phase of the project life cycle is project completion and review. So, you complete the project and review what mistakes you have done in your project, what are your learnings from the project, and these are other things. Disbanding the project team, since you have implemented the project, now you need to disband your project team. So, in project team, as I said, you have got people from different functional departments, or you may have people from different organizations. So, those team members will go back to their respective organizations or functional departments. Handing over the project to the client, because you have made project for some clients. If it is not, if it is for your own use, then you need to start working on that project. Accounting and report writing, learning from experience, this is very important. Most of the people generally do not note down learnings from experience. Very important point, because if you have the list of lessons learned, you would not repeat mistakes if you have committed in a particular project in your future projects. What else apart from these things in this phase? So, you have handed over the project to client, you have disbanded the team and so on. What else left in this phase? you need to support the client once you deliver the project to him. So, there would be definitely training of the employees, retraining of the employees. You need to provide technical support even after delivering the project to client, right. So, after sales services are to be performed in this point. So, let us discuss couple of models for project selection or methods of project selection. So, before starting this session, let me summarize what we did in this session. We discussed different life cycle phases in detail. We have also seen what is to be done in project completion and review phase, and the most important thing we have seen is its lesson learning from the project. So, with this let me complete this session. We will have next session after some time. Thank you very much.